Yes, it's iPhone 5 slating time again. I just wanted to know whether or not the Maps application was working yet, so I had a little look and I found out that basically it's not. No, it's still as shit as it ever was when it first came out. Some improvements, certain things have been fixed, but Apple are relying on its customer base to actually report the problems. So unless the users report the problems, you will not get the fixes. So Apple have got something like about 100 people working in its mapping department. Google have got 7,000 people working in its mapping department, and it really does show. Anyway, just some examples here. This is Statue of Liberty, for example. In the original Maps release, it just wasn't there. Now it's there. So, just an example of the type of bullshit that you have to put up with if you buy this very fucking expensive thing called an iPhone, which doesn't actually work properly. Of course, when you buy these things, you'd expect that there would be a certain amount of sort of mistakes in them, and then they'd be fixed really quickly. Not really. Seems like you just have to wait and wait and wait with Apple. So what else have we got? Let's have a look at this. This is interesting. This is Brooklyn Bridge. Have a little look at this. This is what it used to look like. Yeah. Now that's what it looks like. They've had to repair it. And basically, I mean, this was there's nothing there at all, is there? There's no 3D information. So at the time of releasing this frigging phone, they hadn't even put the 3D information that you see on the right in there. So they're going, hey, look, it's a phone. It's got 3D. It's all 3D. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And yet things like bridges weren't even in there. It's like, what? How could somebody designing, the Brooklyn area in New York miss out one of its biggest bridges? How could they do that? It's just crazy, isn't it? That they would release it in such a bad state. But it's still screwed by all accounts. Still doesn't work. And so basically, I was reading some articles, and this one, which was from The Verge, goes on to talk about Apple and its partners are making improvements to the underlying data supporting the new maps in iOS 6. But Apple have said from last Thursday that it was just getting started with maps. Just getting started. I mean, look at this here. This is Gloucester, England, yeah? And it's like, you've got like a straight line down the middle, and then you've got buildings, and then nothing. You can't even see it, And this is considered in a country that is a heavy user of the iPhone. I mean, Europe is a heavy user of the iPhone. And yet they consider that it's okay to release maps that bad in a country that, buys a lot of its stuff. I mean, it's just crazy, crazy, crazy. So anyway, there's loads and loads of fixes going on, but I mean, it's going to take them years, literally years, to get anywhere near what Google had on Google Maps. So my point is, why do they do this? Why are they attempting to do it? I mean, it's kind of like they could have just used the Google Maps. Google didn't care. Google would let them have it, but that wasn't good enough. It's like free isn't good enough. Free and correct just doesn't work for Apple. It's like, no, it's got to be Apple. It's got to be Apple. Fuck it if it's free, and fuck it if it's good. It's got to be Apple. Otherwise, we don't want it. So it's like, Jesus. Anyway, I was trying to talk to somebody the other day and tell them about why they shouldn't get an Apple, and they didn't understand. So I'll tell you just in case you don't know, because I thought a lot of people knew this. But if you buy an Apple, you actually cannot turn the Apple phone on and connect and start to make calls unless you sign up to Apple. And to sign up to Apple, you have to give them your credit card details. So until you do that with Apple, you give them a credit card, right, and you sign up, right, and it's not those things aren't mutually exclusive. You have to do the both of them, you know. You can't just sign up but not give me a credit card, or give me a credit card then not sign up. You have to sign up and give them your credit card, so they've got all your information, all your details, just getting you ready for when you're going to start purchasing things from Apple iTunes Store, you know. And basically my friend didn't know this, and I said, yeah, you know, you've got to sign up. You can't just go into a shop, buy the iPhone and stick a SIM card in it and use it on O2 and then take it out and put Vodafone in and use a SIM card there. You can't do it, you know. It's locked down to the company you bought the iPhone from. So it'll come with Vodafone and only be for Vodafone, or it'll only be for Orange. And I explained the jailbreaking procedure, i.e. to unlock the phone so that you could use it on other networks. But the trouble with that is that if you jailbreak the phone and something goes wrong, then you will not be able to take it back to Apple to get repaired, because Apple will say you have broken the contract with us by modifying the phone, and it is you who have done the damage, so we accept no responsibility. So that's my snuff. So basically, you will have to go away and buy a new one. So you'll end up taking it to somebody in a small backstreet shop to fix it for you. Apple will wash their hands with you if you basically if you do use it. Here's another one. Look, I mean, look at this for classic. Yeah, I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, look, Brooklyn Bridge. That's the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, and this green here that looks like grass, yeah, is apparently the river. So, you know, fantastic. So Maps is still fucked, completely and utterly fucked. I really like this this one, which was from Forbes.com, showing Las Vegas, and basically, as you can see here, it's just like Las Vegas is melting. You know, it's like everything is just melted, and the cars are all melted into the tarmac, and you know, everything is just like slosh. So yeah, not very good stuff, and not getting much better, to be honest. So the word is on the street that Apple, you know, because as I said, they are defiant to the max. They will not accept that, you know, their Apple Maps is no good. What they will do is just keep on trying to fix it and keep on trying to fix it, instead of just using fucking Google, which would seem like the obvious fucking choice, you know, to anyone that has a fucking brain. But no. They're going to have their fucking maps, and it's going to be their maps and only their maps. But here's how they do it, you see. Here's how they make their maps, you see. Just them, because only Apple are any good and only Apple can have their maps. This is how they do it. They go and steal engineers from Google. So they take ex-engineers from Google Maps, people that have come out of working as engineers, as contractors for Google, and they take those people and they're hiring them. They're not paying them brilliantly, to be honest, considering they're playing catch-up, because they're only paying them £52,000 a year. So for these people that are supposed to be fixing the shit in their system, they're basically employing ex-Google Maps people to fix it. Now, doesn't that tell you that basically it's going to be a copy of Google Maps then, isn't it? It's a copy of Google Maps. Now, if, dare I fucking say this, if now Google had put a copy of Apple Maps, if Apple had made it first, fuck me, can you imagine how quickly Apple would take Google to court if Apple had invented the Maps application first. Can you imagine how quickly they take them to fucking court? Yet they're stealing all their fucking engineers, and that means that they'll be stealing the ideas and code that went with it, to make up their fucking faults. But that's, that's acceptable according to Apple, of course. When Apple do it, it's okay. When Apple steal, it's okay. When anyone else even, copies slightly without directly stealing, then fuck them, get them in court. So, Apple are basically taking, Galaxy to court at the moment, and the reason they're doing it is because they're losing so much of their market. I think the figures I saw recently were saying, I've got them here actually. So Apple and Samsung, this is from businessinsider.com. They revealed their exact USA sales figures for the first time because of the court case. And what it was allowing us to see is just how many phones have been sold during a period. Now, bearing in mind that Apple only sell the iPhone, okay? They sold 86 million iPhones from when the phone first launched in 2007 through the second quarter of 2012, which is, let's say that's 5 years approximately, okay? So they've managed to sell 86 million iPhones in the US. That's just in the US. Guess how many Google sold in just 1 year? In just 1 year. They sold 21 million phones. And that meant you could actually choose what type of phone you had as well, because they sell big phones, small phones, microphones, all types of phones. Yeah. Phones with keyboards on them, phones with touchscreens on them. Yeah. So you can choose what you want. And they'll all have the Android operating system on them. So therefore, it kind of makes a mockery, really, doesn't it? When you realise that you've got a phone like the Android, where you can buy it in a shop, take it out, buy a SIM card, stick it in, and start making calls. And you do not have to tell Google who you are. You don't have to sign up to Google. You don't have to give yourself an account with them. You don't have to give Google your credit card details. Nothing. Just turn it on, put the SIM card in, and it's yours. You control it. And if you want to put software on the device, you just go out there and you download some and you install it on the device. But you can't do any of that unless you're part of iTunes, which means you signed up for Apple and you got the credit card. So fucking wankers. Absolute wankers. I got no time for Apple at all. So yeah, basically the phone application Maps for iPhone is still fucked, and will probably be still fucked until the iPhone 6, and it might even be fucked into the iPhone 7, because it will take Apple years, and they're not employing the amounts of staff that are required to fix this fault. So I mean, we are talking, it is going to take them, if it took Google 7 years and they have 7,000 odd staff, yeah, and it took them 7 years, Apple have got 100 staff. How long do you think it's going to take them? 20 years? 20 years to fix all the data? Because they refuse to use Google's free available data, which Google would have let them use for free. So you know what this means, folks. Don't buy an Apple. Do not buy an Apple. Buy an Android. There's a reason why they're selling like fucking hotcakes. It's because they've got top technology in them and they're cheap. A lot cheaper than the iPhone. And of course you can change the battery and you can put memory sticks in them. So you can take your little 8 gig Samsung S3 phone and you can put a 32 gig or a 64 gig memory stick in there for about 30-40 quid. And bang, you've upgraded the phone for, 40 quid to a massive memory size. Whereas if you want to buy an iPhone and it's an 8 gig, you get the cheap one. If you want the 16 gig, it's going to cost you a couple of $100 extra for that. If you want the 32 gig, add another couple of $100 onto it. If you want to buy the fucking 64 gig, it's gonna probably cost you about fucking $800, for your iPad or your fucking iPhone if you want the big memory. Yeah, it costs a fucking fortune for a little memory stick like that, which you can buy. You know, that's a 1 gig, but you know, I got 32 gigs floating around here somewhere. But these little things are cheap as chips. Yeah, they are cheap, 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 cheap. You can buy these things, and you can buy the micro size one and upgrade the phone yourself. So why the fuck are people paying hundreds, you know, like $500 extra for a memory stick that costs, you know, to the user? This is not manufacturing cost, yeah. To the user costs 40 quid, yeah, for like a, you know, 64 gig stick, yeah. And you're going to pay 500 because Apple have fucking hardwired it into the fucking device so you can't change it. You have to be fucking mental to do that. Anyway, fuck Apple. Good night.